All right. So I've already got one of the coil plugs, coil packs out. Got some metal flake in here, I'm just now noticing. But this is my third attempt on doing this, and I had to end up buying one of these. Let's see if I can get in the video. There we go. All right, so these are made strictly for Beamers, Minis, stuff like that. They're bi-hex heads. That's what makes them special. And the thin wall, very, very thin wall. So you would not want to be torquing down something really hard with one of these, because you're most likely going to snap this spark plug socket. And please go in and pop in like you're supposed to. All right, good. Scares me because, you know, it's third time. Maybe 10 pounds of pressure it had on it. It wasn't like fully locked down, so we'll have to check this plug and see what it looks like.
Who are you talking to?
Camera. Making a Mini Cooper video, I guess. I showed the special plug that we had to get, or socket. All right. Wow, that gapping is close. Well, it's kind of looked like it's been bridged over from debris. Smells good. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. All right, so it is a Iridium plug. They are, oh, NGK IRs. All right. And that's what I bought. Good, very good. I would say these are original plugs, I would imagine. So that's good signs. Very good signs. Porcelain's not cracked. Come on. Yeah, porcelain's not cracked. And there's no spots back here where the weld could be broken, and there's no contact from the valve touching, so that's good on clearance. And these don't look that bad. I mean, we gotta give it the smell check. It smells great, actually. So first plug, very good. All right. And these little guys aren't cheap. I mean, I remember when spark plugs were $3, $2 a piece. These are $21, $22 a piece or so. But these are hot plugs. Check our gapping, make sure they look. Oh yeah, and they have a new and improved head on it. The head's just a tiny bit bigger and it has a wedge to it. Or does this have a wedge? No, they're the same. They're the same. It's just cleaner. You can see that cut edge a little better versus here you can't see crap. All right, so I have had this happen to me before, where I've gotten brand new plugs, put them into a customer's vehicle, and come to find out the old plug was in a better state than the new plug, because they sold me bad plugs. And yeah, I had to talk to the guys at the auto parts store, but they were fine. They know me. They've known me since I was 12 years old. Well, most of them have. And so yeah, they returned it and told me it was a defect. And then what I did is I actually changed the plugs in their parking lot to make sure that I didn't get any more defects, like they had a whole bad batch of them or something like that. Now these little guys, most spark plugs are around 25 to 35 pounds of torque. So right there's contact, about 8, 10, 14, that's 20, 25. That's good. It felt actually really, really good. All right, cool. One down, 3 more to go. We just changed the oil on this little fella too. This little guy takes 5.3 quarts. When I heard that on the internet, I was like, holy crap. Because it's a 3-cylinder. 1.5 3-cylinder. And I'm like, okay, well, It's takes a lot of oil. But this is the first time also when I was draining the oil, it kept going clump, 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 and that usually means there is clumps of debris in it. So, not cool. Kind of scared me. So I was just checking, making sure there's nothing real bad in it. And it wasn't too bad. I just think there's, I guess, old sludge that I guess I broke out of it. And I've been a little better on the oil changes, I think, than the previous owner. So
just under 5,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
Since last.
Yeah, doing it under 5, yeah. And I think Mini says 6,000, it says, and then it comes up dinging at you that you need to change the oil. So we did this one at 49, 48, 49. Yeah, so boom. This little guy's only got a little bit of torque, nothing crazy. Oh. But I did put treatment in this yesterday, and you know, one bottle would treat up to 25 gallons, and I put 2 bottles in, and this was a half tank, and this tank only holds like 10 or 11 gallons, so it's got a hot batch in it right now. 12 gallons. What's 12 gallons? So it should do some cleaning, and if I ever do injection cleaning and stuff like that, or any head cleaner, I try to do it. See, this one doesn't have any metal flake on it. Last one had metal flake around it, and it was kind of weird because there's no moving parts that would be there. I think what it was from the factory, I'm guessing, where they honed it out and stuff. I guess didn't blow it out good enough. But what was it getting at? But yeah, so oh wow, that was under 3 pounds, 3 to 5 pounds to loosen that. So they kind of wiggled themselves loose. Last one didn't have oil all over it, so that was good. So the grommets are holding oil back. And you'll see that more often with a turbocharged or supercharged engine because the car's under so much vacuum. You got negative vacuum and positive vacuum, pressure and vacuum. So yeah, so on cleaning stuff, I really don't want to clean them with brand new spark plugs because you can gum them up that way. Wow, look, the gapping's way bigger on this one. Not severely, but noticeable. Give it a smell check. It smells great. Don't smell oil, smell straight gas. Not real bad rust around it. They've got some awfully deep threads for this engine. I mean, this must have a long stroke on this, I'm guessing, and probably a pretty good size head of the actual inside of the spacing of where the piston and the head meet together. I imagine it's got a pretty good little canyon going on. Alright, so that one's that. They're not too shabby. Also got some cabin filters for the little fella, and those were fun pulling out. I pulled them out. They were original cabin filters, and they were all mangled from Germany, I guess, or whatever. I'm just inspecting, make sure there's no cracks, no boo-boos, no defects. She looks good. Stellar. So what I would do with some of my other cars, I won't do it with this one because it's just too nice, and two, it's a BMW engine and stuff, and I don't quite trust it. It's not like a freaking Toyota. So I'd use acetone, and I'd pour a cup in on a full tank, and it helped a lot, absolutely. And I would also take 1 quart of oil out of the engine and fill it with ATF, automatic transmission fluid, And I was told this by some old feller back in the day, and I was like, no way, I'm gonna do that. Set 15. That's about 20, 25. One more snug. Yep, we're good. Solid. And did I lose it? Nope. All right, cool. So yeah, I started doing that on my first go around, and phenomenal chunks were coming out of my drain pan, and I would always tap on my drain pan really good when I would do oil changes, and I'd make sure that the engine was hot and stuff, just to get that better flow going. And before I ever did that, I did crack the valve cover and check under the cap and smell them, make sure there's no sludge and stuff like that. And I did notice a good difference, an absolutely good difference. And I was like, okay. So I started doing that to my other vehicles, and it was really made a difference. And then I would stop for probably 3 years, maybe 4 years on doing it on a vehicle after I've done it probably 5-6 times in a row of oil changes. And I drive on that oil for about a month with that quart of automatic transmission fluid in my oil. And yeah, it would thin out my oil. I mean, I wouldn't have done it on any of my Jeeps that I've owned, because they had so much blow by and oil consumption through the piston rings that I wouldn't want that too much. And I would run 2050 or 1540 or something like that, some heavy oil in those vehicles, because it just blow oil right through the rings. So I knew better than that. Don't put any, like, ice water in there practically. Some really, really thin oil. Like nowadays engines is pretty scary how thin that oil is. And I'm like, where is the lubrication at? And how does it not break down so quick and stuff like that? And they say that they do it for mileage and stuff. It's supposedly thinner oil, less material to move around, easier on everything to... It shouldn't be hard to pull out, because they've already been out 3 times now. That's got a distinctive gasolina and pretty good rust kind of build up. So I'm guessing this spark plug right here will probably be super loose, because I'm smelling so much gasoline. I was just checking if I get it with my fingers. But I did. Oh yeah, she was. Yeah, and she got a little grit to her. I can feel a little grit to her. There we go. So with my Corolla that I had, I was getting killer gas mileage, and I wasn't really shooting for like horsepower or stuff like that. I already knew what type of engine I was working with. I was working with a POS, but oh yeah, I was right. The rust, everything else, good build up on the lip here. This is actually the dirtiest plug around the rim. Smell check. Very impregnated with, well, not impregnated oil or anything like that, but really smell the gas on that one. A little stronger than the rest of them. I mean, I could probably get another 20,000 miles out of these plugs, but they're 100,000 mile plugs. We're at 90,000 on this vehicle. These should have been taken out at 60. And I think she bought it at like 60,000, 65,000. Now you can see a nice darker shiny line at the bottom here. And then at the top of that ring, it's all like crispy and burnt. That's what a hot plug will do for you. It actually is hot enough that it will burn off the goodies. Like, you don't have it on the top of it and stuff. I forget what those things are called. I used to know, and you forget after a while. But yeah, so I wouldn't want to do a hard fuel treatment and stuff like that. I put Lucas in, and that's one of my favorite injector cleaners. I usually would buy the gallon, and I would usually get it for about $32, $33 a gallon. And I saw it at the auto parts store yesterday for $30 and some change, so like 31 bucks. I was like, all right, cool. So the price hasn't really changed on that, other than maybe dropped a little. So that made me happy. Everything's looking pretty good. Make sure there's no boo-boos in the porcelain. Alright, looking fancy. Fancy. So, also, like down the road type deal, I mean, I'm pretty sure she wants to keep this car until it absolutely dies. So, technically, I need to get a boost controller for it, and I need to take apart the intake to the turbo and check the spindle in it, check the turbine, and make sure that it's good, the bearings are good, and it's not got a bunch of play. And if I got that deep into this car, then yeah, I would probably just get another turbo for it. And I'm hoping it has a Garrett turbo on here, to be honest with you. I mean, if I had to go with a factory turbo and look for longevity, I would definitely go with the Garrett. That's where it's at. And we stopped right there. Okay. That's it. Cool. Very nice. Very nice. He did very well for me. Yeah. I mean, technically, I could have manipulated one of my spark plugs sockets to fit this, but might as well buy another one or get a new tool. New reason for a new tool. Bad part is yes, I do own a whole set of those, but they're gone. So, oh well, you'll have that. So I did have to start over a lot on my automobile tools. I've got some in storage and miscellaneous places over at my friends' houses, stuff like that, where I can keep storage and stuff like that. But yeah, I had to start over, and I started over with some Harbor Freight. I love it. So I'll get back to it. I'll get back to my Craftsman and my Cobalt stuff. I mean, and don't get me wrong, that stuff breaks exactly the same as a what's it called, wood, Harbor Freight stuff. So, but it's just, I don't know. After a while, you start feeling like, man, I've got trust in this ratchet, or I've got trust in this socket, where you can really torque stuff down, beat it with a hammer, and know that you're going to get a little bit more life out of it versus some Harbor Freight Pittsburgh stuff or Chicago stuff. And yes, I did take the valve cover, dust cover off of this. All it does is hold back heat, and you don't need that. I mean, and I did change the intake on this because nowadays cars, it kills me. I mean, yes, I'd understand if we were up in up north, further north. I mean, we're in Ohio, but further north, like practically Canada and stuff like that, where it's gonna be cold 90% of the time. Then yeah, you would have an intake that would suck hot air from over your radiator and stuff. And the engine cover, you got padding this thick, and it just holds too much heat, and I don't like it, so I take them off of all my cars. Allow that thing to breathe, get the friction down. If you had no friction, then you would have more power. You would have better economy, gas economy, and all the above. So, if you could take all the friction away out of this engine, literally every bit from every moving part that's in it, it would have double the horsepower, easily. It'd have every bit of, I think this little fella's got maybe 160, 170. So yeah, double that. It easily. It easily have 250 all day long. All right. Little cup of coffee. Woohoo! All right, I'm gonna start the little fella up, and hopefully the camera doesn't fall, but it might. See if I can get you guys set up somewhere else over here where it's a little better. Get my tilt going. There we go. I made my little ghetto camera stand. And hey, I can't complain. It works pretty good. Alright, so one thing about having that cover off, you hear that? That's the cam, the lifters and stuff. They'll quiet down when they get oil in them, but it sounds like you have valve tap real bad. And BMWs are notorious for this, and that cover does quiet it up a lot. But they like to put plastic components in their engines. So it's a cam tensioner, cam timing tensioner or something like that. And I've ran into it numerous times. So it's not bad. Motor mounts feel pretty good on it. I mean, when you rev it, it doesn't move too much. You hear that? Hear that tap out of nowhere? Yeah. She's like right here. And then she goes away. You hear that? Yeah. I don't trust these engines. I really don't. You think something's loose in here, the way it sounds. Also, Ford engines and stuff, you'll get a lot of that tick 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 sound. But see how it went away? God love it. That's injectors. You'll hear injectors going click 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 click. Yeah. Ooh, a little putt there. Little putt. That wasn't cool. She needs a good cleaning too. I mean, there's residue all over. So I'll let her do her thing, let her warm up. She hasn't been started today, so other than when I pulled it in the garage. But she's not that bad of a vehicle. She's really not. I just don't want to sink a lot of money into something that, you know, could break very quickly and stuff like that. I don't know. I'll always buy cheap vehicles. I'll never buy something expensive. I mean, if it gets you down the road, it gets you down the road. Who cares what people think? So, our next little mission is going to be cabin filters and stuff. So, do I have room on this side? Yeah, I do. All right, cool. All right, because the cabin filter is how you get into them, is through the side there. Let me get set up, and I'll make a video about that little fella, because we're at 24 minutes right now on some spark plugs. And this is another thing. These little guys. These little halo rings or whatever you want to call them. They're held in with little snap rings, little not rings, Jesus, little clips, plastic clips. It's plastic on plastic to metal. And we got it over here too. And this one did hold and stuff, but, you know, it's going to break eventually. And literally, me and Karen were checking about a birdie that we nailed. And it wasn't our fault. I mean, the bird was in the way, you know. He shouldn't have been playing in the road. But he got nailed, like, right around here. So we pulled over and checked. Went to close the hood, and this thing just, like, popped off. And I was like, ultimate driving machine, isn't it? So, yeah, I put some, like, glue on it, you know. I'm not too proud of it. But you can kind of see. And then you can see my smear marks. And I was happy that this was, you know, dirty already. So hopefully it doesn't stick and make bad blemishes. But yeah, that's like a little glue right there. I could have done a better job, technically. Yeah, you can kind of see that up in there. But as long as it doesn't fall off, I'll be okay. And I did have some run down the edge here, and that's kind of scared me. I was like, oh, God, hope I'm not jacking up the paint job. But I think we'll be all right. All right, let me get the stuff for the cabin filter, and I will get set up and try to get the camera somewhere that's worth it. And, you know, hopefully I get you a good shot.